Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Investor More, and I am standing inside one of my commercial rental properties. This space here could actually be used as commercial or residential. And in this video, we're going to talk about our plans, some tenants who wanted to rent it and then did not rent it, and a few other things. And this is going to be our audience participation video because we're going to have some questions for you about what we should do in this space and the space next to it. So I'd love to hear what you guys think and hear from the audience on this one. Of course, we like the thumbs up too, and new subscribers, welcome to the channel. But we're going to walk through this property, tell you about what we paid for it, what our plans are, how things have gone so far. And before we do that, make sure you check out investormore.com for much more information on our flips, rentals, being an agent, all of that great stuff, and our books on Amazon. All right, so let's get started and take a look at this property. I am standing at the back of this commercial property. So it's about 5,000 square feet. That's the back door that kind of goes back out to the alley where we're parked. And this is a property I bought a few months ago. Time goes by pretty fast, so it's always hard to keep track of when we actually buy properties, don't buy them. We paid, I think it was $450,000 total for this property and the property next door. So the property next door is actually a brewery, and that is the only property where we've had difficulty during coronavirus with rent. And I don't know, you can kind of see part of it, but we bought it in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, so it didn't surprise me, but we've been giving them half rent while they've been shut down, since for this last month or so, Colorado has not allowed indoor dining in certain counties, so they could not operate. So they've been really good to work with still doing their best. But all of our other commercial businesses have been doing great, paying rent. Our residential properties have been doing great, paying rent, so that's great to hear, great to see. And then we've been trying to be proactive and talk to them as well. But this property here, as you can see, is vacant. So we bought it vacant. The shop space up front is vacant too. We'll show you that here. But this, as you can see, is kind of set up as a residential property. And it's got the IKEA kitchen. I do not shop at IKEA. One, because it's like an hour and a half away from me. And two, because you have to install everything with 8,000 different pieces, and that's just a waste of time. So I have nothing against IKEA. That's just kind of some of the reasons why we don't do it. But in this space, we've kind of put some feelers out there for tenants, talking about it on Facebook, not really officially listed it for rent. And part of that's because the basement we want to do some work on. So the question is, well, do we want to rent this and then be super noisy and work on the basement and annoy the new tenants? And the other part is, will somebody want to rent the entire space, including the front of it, which we thought might happen, but fell apart. So we'll talk about that here soon too. But first off, as you can see, there's the kitchen. You've got, a bathroom right here. But the rest of it is one giant open space with a few curtains. So if we rent it as residential, is it worth more keeping it a giant open loft space? I think it's super cool, but it's not as functional as if it had bedrooms in here. We're also in a small town of about, 5,000 to 7,000 people, I think. So it's not like it's in a downtown area with lots of hip, artists. I'm sure there are some here, but it's just not, in a location where you see a lot of loft style type living. So do we add bedrooms? Do we just leave it as it is? I think we might be able to rent it for more if we added bedrooms, but then your question is, where do you put the bedrooms? Because we share this wall with a restaurant, so you can't have any windows there. If you put a bedroom there, you have no windows. You'd have to cut through the concrete wall to make a window. You've got one big window here, but the rest of it has just little tiny windows up top. So you have to do quite a bit of structural work adding windows. You've got pretty tall ceilings, so there would be quite a bit of work to add walls. Your heat is one central line running through it, so you have to do quite a bit of HVAC work as well. And then it's like, well, how do you even lay out the bedrooms? Because it's not exactly set up, as a big square area with your door in front, your doors on the back or up there. And then, you'd have kind of a real narrow kitchen living room area, and you have no windows if it's over here. If you have your living room over there, you have no windows for the bedrooms over here. So it's just a weird layout. So we can kind of see why in the past they never did put bedrooms in and they kept it wide open. And originally there's a hardware store up front, and this was just storage for that hardware store back here, or more retail space. So it was never, originally planned to be a residential unit. So those are the things we're thinking about and things we want your help with in this space. So let us know what you think on that. If we should add bedrooms, how we would add them if we did. Square footage. You're always asking me for square footage. I just walked it off, and it's about 25 feet wide and 64 feet long from that wall to the front wall. So it's about 1,600 square feet. So if that helps at all. All right, now we're gonna head to the front and talk about the other story that happened with this property. So, there's a basement too. We may show you the basement because we're thinking about finishing that off. This is the front space, which is commercial, but it does have a kitchen. So you could actually live in part of it, use part of it as commercial, but you have to use part of it as commercial for zoning. You can't just live in the whole thing. So it can be all commercial, or it can be some commercial, some residential. But as you can see, there's a lot of stuff here. The person I bought this property from rented it back for 6 months to store some of his stuff, but he's willing to leave as soon as we can get it leased. So all this stuff is for sale if you're interested in anything. Really cool guy. But we had, a lot of people interested in this space. And the tenant here he's a real estate agent too, for a lease sign up front, so people have been calling him. And we had a group who wanted to rent this, the back storage area, and the basement all together. And I met them here, showed them the property, talked about price. We came to an agreement on price, kind of doing the whole thing at once. They were contractors, so they said they'd be willing to do work in the basement to kind of get a reduced rate. So hey, worked all that out, got everything tied together about when the lease would be, how long the lease would be, when they would move in, all of that stuff. And then they wouldn't come in to sign the lease. So we wrote out the lease, created everything, got it ready for them, all these extras in it. And then every time it came time to sign the lease, they had an excuse or reason why they couldn't sign it that week or why it had to be next week. So eventually I'm just like, hey, we got to get this done this week, or else, I'm telling all these other people who've been waiting for this property, because we had 3 or 4 people who asked about it, that you guys aren't interested. We're going to open it up to other tenants. And as soon as I said that, they disappeared, completely ghosted me, didn't respond to texts or calls. They were gone. So I don't know if they were just completely full of it the whole time or what was going on, but that can be frustrating, and that happens sometimes in this business. But it's a commercial rental. It takes longer to rent commercial spaces, but if you get the right tenant, they can stay here for a very long time. So I'm glad that we kind of sifted through that now and didn't sign a lease and then have problems later. Because along with that, we had other tenants. We had a tenant who almost thinking about doing a tattoo shop, I think like an accounting business, other tenants who are interested, but they're like, well, we just want to do a 1-year lease, or we're not real sure how our business is going to handle coronavirus, so we don't want to commit to too much. And they're just, not solid tenants. So I would rather keep a space vacant, keep looking for the right tenant, than sign up the wrong tenant and have problems later on. And we do see that with some of our commercial properties where we have, places sit vacant for an extended period of time, and it's frustrating and you wish they're rented, but you also don't want to put the wrong person in there and cause problems, because if you take your time, if you find the right tenant, it can be a wonderful thing with commercial real estate when you have the right match the right person in there. So that's our plan here. And plus, this tenant is paying rent. So there's no reason to rush him out and push him out of here if we don't have the right tenant coming into this space. So it is still for rent. We've got it listed. He's got to sign up. So I think we'll find someone. I think there's a ton of interest in this space just because it does front the, I think I even showed you guys. Here, we'll hop out here real quick. A very busy highway. And if you know some of my other properties, the bar that we're fixing up is the next town over, 5 miles that way. And then I have another commercial property where the fence company is, right down there. Where the light is down there, that's where that property is. And down that way 3 blocks, I have another property. So those are all rentals, all commercial rentals. And apparently I like this part of Colorado. So our plan for right now, try to get this lease to the right tenant, possibly break up the spaces where you're leasing one unit in the back, this unit, and maybe the basement unit to someone else. So right now, we'll show you the basement unit. So that's the brewery right there and the parking lot right here. And one thing too we wanted to ask the brewery, and I can't remember if I asked them or not, is if we can use some of this parking for residents who might live right here. Because as you can see, there's not a whole lot of parking right here. That's about all we've got. And then that red part right there, that's the restaurant right next door. So here is the basement unit. And this originally was where the owners of the hardware store lived. So they lived down here, which is kind of cool. And it's been a really long time since anybody lived down here. But we're thinking about right now, one reason we're here right now, me and Nikki are here. If you say you see ghosts or hear ghosts, it's probably Nikki in the background walking around because she hates being in the videos. So that's what it is. But we're here today to kind of look at this basement area and decide, hey, do we want to bring some of our guys over here? Because for once, we're kind of like doing really well catching up on flips and repairs and all that. So do we want to bring one of our contractors over here to work on this area, spruce it up as kind of like a basement apartment? So we're going to talk about that here soon. And now she's just patiently waiting for me to do all my videos. But like I said, we bought this whole thing for $450,000. I think it worked out. We bought the one next door for $170 and this one for $280, something like that. But it takes a long time to rent some of the commercial stuff. Residential is easier. And people are like, man, it seems so risky to invest in commercial, especially with coronavirus. What are you doing? Why are you, buying these properties that will be vacant forever? Well, because there's tons of upside. So if we had a deal where this whole place is going to be rented for $4,000 a month, excluding the brewery. The brewery is rented for $1,400 a month. Well, with commercial cap rates, if we rent this place for $4,000 a month, that's $48,000 a year. That makes just this one side, excluding the brewery, worth $500,000 to $600,000. So that's why we are taking those risks, are willing to invest in commercial, and take our time getting them rented to the right people, because that's with pretty low rents. Like if we rented each unit separately, I think we could easily get maybe $4,500. Maybe not. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but at least $4,000. And so it would take some money fixing up this basement area, but it really won't take much upstairs at all. And once we get those long-term tenants in, that's what really bumps the value of commercial properties. And then we can go to the bank, refinance, take cash out, have long-term debt in place, still have incredible cash flow, have almost no money invested into the deal, and just keep reusing that money over and over again. So that's why we buy these commercial properties and are willing to take those risks. So this is going to be a bathroom. That's what it's set up for. Back here might be the master bedroom. We'll see. It used to have lots of windows up here. They aren't here anymore. So that's something, a big expense we'll have to look into. You can see it used to have stairs going up to the front unit. No longer. It's now a bathroom above there. We also might take out that wall make this one big long living room, make this a bedroom, make this a bedroom, and no, that'll be our kitchen. I think this will be our kitchen, but bedroom, bedroom, lease, bedroom, bedroom, big long living room, maybe another bedroom back here. We'll see how, that's what we're gonna talk about today. So for this property, I think it's still an amazing deal. Still working through finding the right tenants, still working through kind of making this basement work well as a residence, probably a basement apartment. We could rent this. We could rent the studio space upstairs, but need to decide if we keep it as a studio or add bedrooms, and then just find the right tenant for the front spot. And if the perfect tenant comes along who says, hey, I want to rent all of it, that'd be amazing and great, but I'm not getting my hopes up because I think it's much more likely to rent them all to individuals than it is to rent all of them together. All right, so I think that's the property. That is all we've got going on with it right now. This is part of my goal to rent square footage. So that's one of my big goals for 2021. If you did not see that video, there, switch the view. But yes, one of my big goals for 2021 is to rent 30-some thousand square feet of vacant space. And this is some of that vacant space in this building. This will be, what, 5,000 square feet of space we rent, about that. So we still have a lot of other spaces to rent too. I'm looking at buying new spaces, but love to get this rented, love to get it refinanced, get it stabilized, and then keep buying more and more things, rinse and repeat, doing that over and over. All right, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Love the comments. Like I said, this is a viewer comment video, so please keep those coming, or in addition to what you've posted already. Love the likes, keep those coming. Many more videos coming up soon as well. So make sure you subscribe to get notifications for those. All right, we'll be back soon.